Good morning. Sanbonan, Dimacheroni, Afshini Wakaino, Tumelang. Ladies, and I see this gentleman as well. We're going to start with the program. All I'm asking is that if you want to use the bathroom, please use the back doors so that there is no disturbance to the live stream. But we should start now. I see that our ladies are also dressed up for the occasion, right? You all are looking very beautiful. A big round of applause to you. A very warm welcome to you all. It is my pleasure to introduce or welcome our panel discussion under the theme Coded for Equality, Women, AI, and the New Media Landscape, hosted in partnership with the GCIS and the Tshwane University of Technology. My name is Papama Chisikawe, and I'm the spokesperson of this beautiful university where we make knowledge work, where we are entrepreneuring the future together. I thought you'll clap hands for that. Eh? Ladies, we gather at a pivotal moment. Artificial intelligence is rapidly reshaping how stories are created, shared, and discovered, and also consumed. Algorithms influence what audience see. Generative tools are changing newsrooms and content studios. In this new landscape, critical questions arise: whose voices are amplified, whose perspectives shape the code, and how do we ensure that women are not only present in media, but actively coding equality into the systems that will define the future of communication and media at large. So this panel brings together thought leaders that are here, who will explore both the opportunities and the challenges, from bias in algorithms and underrepresentation to the power of AI to democratize storytelling and elevate women's voices. Welcome to the 2026 Women in Media and Communications panel discussions. It's such an honor also to be driving the program. A big round of applause to all of us here. Without any waste of time, I would like now to invite Ms. Zanele Mgati, the Chief Director, Products and Platforms Unit from the GCIS, that we're hosting this event in partnership with the GCIS. It's an address by the Chief Director from Products and Platforms Unit representing the DDG from the GCIS. A big round of applause. That's a bit mild. It's still very early in the morning. Let's welcome Ms. Mgadi to the podium. Yeah, that's more like it.
I like that you try to adjust it to match my height. So thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I do have gentlemen here. Who invited gentlemen here? Well, you are also welcome. It's very good for me to be here today at TUT and actually see the institution and the students here. I'm saying that because we have a lot of students at GCIS that come from TUT, and they've done a very, very good job. So congratulations to all of you and also the lecturers. So program director, I am representing my DG, who is currently attending cabinet. So women in media, you will also find them in cabinet, ladies and gentlemen. Program director, leadership and representatives of the Tshwane University of Technology, our keynote speaker and panelists, members of the media and communications fraternity, students and young professionals, GCIS colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As we mark Women's Month and commemorate 70 years since the courageous women of 1956 marched to the Union buildings in defense of justice and equality, it's a privilege for me to address you on behalf of the GCIS. Just as their generation confronted the challenges of its time, we must confront the challenges of ours. Today, one of the most significant challenges and opportunities facing our profession and society is the rise of artificial intelligence, AI. Let me begin by acknowledging the important partnership between the GCIS and TUT. This partnership matters because as our communication environment continues to change, collaboration becomes increasingly important. Government, academia, and the media industry each bring valuable perspectives and expertise, and by working together, we can better navigate change, embrace new opportunities, and prepare for the future. Universities are developing the next generation of journalists, and that's you, communicators and technology professionals. The media is also at the front line of technological change, and the GCIS has a responsibility to ensure that government communication continues to evolve so that citizens have access to credible, relevant, and timely information. Our theme here, Coded for Equality, Women, AI, and the New Media Landscape, is asking us a very fundamental question. As technology changes our world, are women equally represented and actively involved in shaping that change? Our approach to AI must therefore be grounded in the Constitution and must be ethical, inclusive, and human-centered. Inclusive is one of my favorite parts because we don't want to leave anyone behind. Sections 9, 10, and 14 of the Constitution provide important safeguards to ensure that AI does not reproduce discrimination or deepen existing inequalities. So that's homework for those who have not visited the Constitution. Go and have a look at those sections because it shapes your work, those part of the Constitution. But AI is already transforming media and communication. It can transcribe interviews, like the program director said earlier. Okay, there's a challenge now with my phone. My speech is it's not moving. It's AI. It's AI. It's AI. Okay, just give me a second. It's just frozen. Is it AI or the network here? Because it looks like you are not as empowered as you should be in terms of technology here at TUT. But let me check. I'm talking about network, not technology as such. Apologies, colleagues. I'm trying to restart it. This is not good. Okay, where was I? I was saying that AI is already transforming media and communication. It can transcribe interviews, summarize lengthy documents, analyze enormous amount of information, translate content, and help produce material in seconds. I'm not going to ask, because your lecturers are here, what you do with AI, if you upload those study guides and ask for it to do some notes for you. So I won't ask that, you know. But there are aspects of our work that remain profoundly human. AI cannot build a relationship of trust with a source over many years. It cannot fully understand the human reality behind statistics, and it cannot carry the ethical responsibility that comes with deciding what should be published and whose voices need to be heard. So perhaps the question is not only will AI replace journalists and communicators, rather we should also ask what human qualities become even more valuable in the age of AI. For me, these include judgment, curiosity, empathy, integrity, and trust. There is another issue that predates AI, but has become even more important because of it, and that is representation. More than 2 decades ago, pioneering South African editor and former South African National Editors Forum chairperson, Dr. Lakela Kaunda, called on editors to continue debating race and gender representation in the media products. Then we were asking, who occupied our newsrooms, who held positions of authority, and whose voices were represented in our media. Today, we must also ask, who is represented in the data? Who designs the algorithms? Whose experiences inform the technology? And whose voices might be excluded? The technology has changed. The question of representation has not. There is a familiar saying that women must work twice as hard to get half of what men have. As I repeat that, women must work twice as hard to get half of what men have. And that is something we would like to see change in our lifetime. More than a century ago, Mama Charlotte Maxeke, widely regarded as the mother of Black freedom in South Africa, was already arguing for complete equality with men in law and practice, in the family, the state, and in society. Today, that demand for equality must extend into the digital world. Earlier this month, SANEF launched Glass Ceilings 2026, Women in South African Media, a new study that found that 75% of South African women journalists experience online bullying and misogyny. SANEF warns that the traditional glass ceiling has evolved into cyber ceiling. 75%, ladies and gentlemen. Statistics South Africa has also documented gender disparities in access to and use of information and communication technologies. This matters because participation in the AI economy begins with access to technology, access to opportunity, to information and skills. But as women in media and communication, our responsibility goes further. Our conversation about AI cannot only be about what AI will do to our careers or for our careers. It must also be about what we can do with AI to expand opportunities for other women. Opportunities for other women. Yeah, if you've lived long enough and you are 16 like I am, you know how men are good at supporting each other, especially in a work environment. So we need to do the same for ourselves as women. How can we use these tools to make information more accessible to a woman in a rural village, in her own language, and through a platform she can access? How can we connect her more effectively to information about healthcare, education, agricultural support, business opportunities, government services, or protection from gender-based violence? And how do we ensure that her voice and lived experience are present in the stories we tell and the information environment we are building? That, for me, is where technology becomes to be more meaningful. In the hands of women journalists and communicators, AI can become a powerful tool for inclusion, enabling us to deliver credible and useful information further, faster, in more languages and in forms that speak to the realities of women wherever they live and wherever they are. Women cannot wait for the digital revolution to deliver equality. We must vuka and zenzela ourselves. We must help shape it and use our access to technology to open doors for other women. Our challenge is to ensure that the glass ceiling of yesterday does not become the algorithm of tomorrow. Technology is not automatically neutral. AI learns from data generated by societies with their own histories, inequalities, and biases. If those biases are embedded in the data, technology can reproduce and amplify them. Women must therefore have a voice at every level, as users, as researchers, journalists, developers, communicators, entrepreneurs, policymakers, and leaders. We welcome initiatives here at TUT that support and empower women in technology, including the Girls in Tech program and the Electronics Repair and Entrepreneurship program. I hope some of you are part of that program. We also applaud initiatives such as the Technology Innovation Agency's Women Technology and Innovation Program, NEMISA's training programs and the African Girls Can Code initiative, which create pathways for women and girls into technology, innovation, and STEM careers. Through SA Connect, government's national broadband program, we are working to bridge the digital divide by expanding broadband connectivity and community Wi-Fi, particularly in underserved communities. I hope the institution is benefiting, Professor, from that. We are also investing in people through the National Digital and Future Skills Strategy, equipping South Africans with the capabilities needed to participate meaningfully in the digital economy. For government, there is an additional responsibility: protecting the integrity of the information environment. AI has made it increasingly easy to generate convincing fake text, images, audio, and video. In an environment where misinformation and disinformation can spread within seconds, credibility, accuracy, and public trust become even more important. The GCIS is strengthening its response, including work towards a government fact-checking capability to proactively debunk deepfakes and false information. We don't have a time frame for that, but we are working as fast as we can. But technology alone will not solve these challenges. This is another reason why the partnership between the GCIS and TUT matters. Together, government, academia, and media can help ensure that young women are equipped not only to participate in this changing environment, but to help shape where it's going. Our measure of progress cannot simply be how many women are in our newsrooms, communications departments, universities, or technology companies. It must also be how much influence women have where these industries are going, and whether that influence improves the lives of women beyond these rooms. I'd like to conclude with the words of Mama Lillian Ngoyi, one of the leading figures of the 1956 Women's March and a fearless champion of women's rights and equality. Freedom does not come walking towards you. It must be won. As women, we must go on playing our part. Noma ndoza washo wathi uyithola kanjani uhlele khona. Yes. 7 decades later, that call remains relevant. In this new technological era, the responsibility to advance equality is now ours. Let us ensure that the glass ceiling of yesterday does not become the algorithm of tomorrow, and that equality is coded into our future from the start. Thank you.
Uzoyithola kanjani uhlole khonini? Okay? Thank you so much. A big round of applause, please. She is Ms. Zanele Mgadi, the Chief Director, Products and Platforms Unit at the GCIS. I think she deserves another round of applause. Absolutely, yes. Without any waste of time, I would like now to invite Royal Vocal to give us a poem item titled Women in Christ. A big round of applause to you.
Good morning, ladies. Well, now you understand the whole royal vocalcy means. So this poem is Women in Christ. So it's, you did. You brushed aside your Bill of Rights to recite the will of Christ, dusted the altar from rust to crystal glass dimes. You mined out our appetite of Christ, refined our hearts to dynamite. You rectified parasites to modify paradise, reaped apart vines to reignite Christ. You paralyzed our guards and amplified our trust of Christ from spine to intestine. You did. You stirred up a covenant. You disinfected our disobedience, crafted lines of righteousness. You deregistered us from judgment, remagnified assignments titled anointed. You piled up tenants and made servants the TNFs of darkness, anointed to bless us of heaven, but appointed to leave us of hell beheaded. You did. You made Satan a patient of death with patience of distress. Now in your presence, every curse casted served themselves to caskets. See, you might resign, but the bloodline that you designed baptized the dark to light. You prescribed the way, the truth, and the life, so here is I. I recite my design of precious art, sparked to magnify Adonai, modified to terrify parasites. I testify as your design, fine as wine. You did. You portrayed portraits that proclaim Satan's bondage, drained our way to lay graces, our scripts of fate, ordained to sustain saints from stain that Cain carried to the grave. You did. Thank you.
Hala la TUT, hala la. Hala la TUT, hala la. Hala la women in media, hala la. Hala la women in communications, hala la. We are so blessed, the talent at the Tshwane University of Technology. Now it makes sense, the royal voice. Now we understand what you mean by that. A big round of applause to him, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really honored and happy, very happy to introduce the next speaker. She'll be giving us the keynote address. Ms. Kitumeti Tumi Libaka. She is the Chief Executive Officer of the Gauteng Film Commission, a transformational corporate leader, author, and speaker. Raised in Kwakwa, I hope I said it right, Kwakwa, and familiar with severe hardships. She overcame a period of being unemployed for 5 years and living in an informal settlement to rise into major corporate and executive boardrooms. Her early exposure to strong female figures and business-minded family members inspired her path towards independence and community empowerment. At the age of 21, she partnered with local business to run a feeding scheme, sparking a lifelong commitment to social upliftment. And looking at her career and leadership, she serves as the CEO of the Gauteng Film Commission, focusing on youth employment, skills transfer, and unlocking South Africa's creative economy. Recognized by President Cyril Ramaphosa as one of 2 standout CEOs at the Future of HR Awards in 2019, she's held prominent leadership roles, including chairperson of the COVID-19 adjudication sports sector, chairperson of the African Leadership and Transformation Foundation, and board member of the South African National Space Agency, SANSA. She holds an MBA, and she is pursuing her doctorate in business administration, alongside being trained NLP life coach and mentor. Authored the book Thrive, A Journey of Hope and Resilience, which guides women entering corporate world, helping them navigate corporate politics, combat imposter syndrome, and step into leadership. It is such an honor to invite you to the podium, Ms. Tumi Libaka, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Papama. You know, that introduction, I was like sitting next to Prof V here, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Good morning. Good morning to everybody. Thank you so much, our program director, leadership of Tshwane. I believe we've got a number of phenomenal women leaders in various departments. The leader, the chief director from GCIS, colleagues from government, if we do have any academia, media, technology, creative industries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a beautiful morning to you. Let me also take this time to also greet the young women in the room who will inherit an industry different from the one we entered. Our theme today is Coded for Equality, Women, AI, and the New Media Landscape. And I just really would like to start with these 5 words. AI may be new. Inequality is not. Because before artificial intelligence, there was already inequality in who told our stories. There was inequalities about who owned media companies. There was inequality about who sat behind the cameras. There was inequality about who controlled the budget and whose stories were considered commercially viable. There was inequality about who sat in the boardroom. So as we enter this extraordinary AI revolution, we need to be careful not to take the old inequalities and simply give them new technology, because a society can be technologically advanced but remain deeply unequal. So perhaps the most important question that we need to ask today is not what can AI do? Possibly the most important question we need to ask today is who shapes what AI becomes? And for women in particular, the question that should be more important is, what role do we intend to play in rewriting the algorithms that will increasingly shape our world? I've been in rooms where leadership does not look like me at all. So I approach this conversation not from being a technologist, but I approach it from being a woman. I approach it from being a leader. I approach it from somebody in the creative economy. I also approach it from a woman who spent most of her professional life entering leadership rooms where a lot of people did not necessarily look like me. So I know how it is like to be a woman, one of the very few women in a room full of men. I know what it is like to have a title, but still, you still have to establish your own credibility. I know what it is like to have a great idea, but for it to be challenged before it's understood. I know what it means to lead transformation, but also simultaneously having to demonstrate that you as a woman deserve to lead. So many women will recognize some of the experiences that I've really shared. Because as women, we're expected to lead, but we're not expected to be powerful. We're expected to speak as long as it's not too loud. We're expected to be confident, but still be sufficiently accommodating. We're expected to be ambitious, but somehow we must apologize for wanting more. And over the years, leadership has taught me something, and that is equality cannot depend on women becoming better at surviving unequal systems. And we therefore have to participate in redesigning systems themselves. And this is why this conversation about AI is really important, because about this time, we need to really look about the role of women who are behind the architecture of AI. Because for decades, we have fought representation. You know, my earlier speaker here spoke about the role of Mam Lillian Ngoyi and how she fought for representation. And representation matters. And why representation matters is because who is behind the media is able to tell the story. Because media teaches society what to see. It influences whose stories matter, who is beautiful, who is powerful, who is intelligent, who leads and who needs saving, and whose pains needs more attention. So with that said, I took time and I looked into the research, and one of the great researches that I looked into was the 2025 Suloid ceiling study of the 250 highest grossing films in the US. And from that, the stats are as follows. Women accounted for only 13% of directors. Only 28% are producers. Only 20% were directors. and about 7% were cinematographers. And when you looked into 6 major behind-the-scene roles, women only represented 23%. When we did our study as GFC about 2 years ago, the figures were the same. And we're very deliberate in putting programs to shift the needle from the 18% of women who were receiving funding to now close to 45%. So yes, as much as women are visibly seen in our screens, but visibility is not the same as power. I'm sure you would agree. Because somebody still decides where does the camera point, right? Whose story gets commissioned, who receives the production budget, which woman becomes the protagonist, and through which eyes the stories are told. So in 2023, we experienced something quite remarkable. In 2023 Netball World Cup in Cape Town, SuperSport made history. And the whole broadcast was recorded and produced an all-women production crew, around 120 women. Think about that for a moment. Entire production, before, behind the scenes, all women. And these women were not only athletes competing on court. There were camera women, there were women in production, there were women participating, determining how those athletes are seen by the world. Because the camera is not neutral. So someone decides where it points. And I'm sure you've seen in a lot of cases. Someone decides what deserves close up. And somebody decides how they tell the story. So women in sports has historically had to navigate something that men in sports do not experience the same way. The possibility of an athlete being viewed through her body rather than through her athletic excellence. And we've seen so many times where the camera zooms into the breasts, or zooms into the butts, or zooms into the legs. It's the reality of where we see. So the camera does not go and find her concentration, her strategy, her strength, her leadership, her exhaustion, her determination, her disappointment, her triumph. But mostly our stories, if they are told in males' lenses, they are told differently. That is why it's important to diversify who is behind the camera. Not because every woman will tell every story identically, because women are not a homogeneous group. Because we know when we hold diversity, when we hold the lenses, we diversify what society is able to see. I'd also like to just share another example, which most of you may be familiar with, the polygamist. The Netflix 22-episode supernovela was adapted from an author, a woman called Sunyati. It's obviously a story that centers around Jonasi Gomorrah, a powerful man, a complicated families, wives, side chicks, mistresses, power, love, betrayal, you call it everything. But what is interesting is the source material was written by a woman. The screen adaptation had occupying substantial positions of creative authority. Gugu Zuma Ncube and Thuli Zuma were among the executive producers and creative directors. Busisiwe Zwane was the head writer. The creative writing team, among others, we had Lurato Pefo and Nkosazana Zuma Ncube, who are female. And Tabitau was one of the directors. So although this is a story about a man at the center, the women are the one who narrated the story. And my theory is this is why The Polygamist was #1 in 21 countries. It is the reason why it entered top 10 in 62 countries. It is the reason why it accumulated 27.6 million views. It remained on Netflix top 10 non-English shows for 7 consecutive weeks. it was the first from South Africa. And now, so what we started seeing is a ripple effect. When you speak to the tourism people, they start telling you that we've seen more increased tourists to South Africa from that time. That is the power of media. And you start getting more South African production companies, more South African actors, more South African productions being recognized locally. You will notice that there's a new Netflix movie. It's called Untitled. It's starting to trend globally. And we can accredit it back to polygamist. All female team, female writer, telling a story differently. So what I want us to talk about here is when the book was written, it became an intellectual property. It not just a screen production. A book, intellectual property that became a screen production that became global distribution, and global distribution that started getting audience around the world talking. We always talk about women entering the room, but we need to talk about the economics behind representation, because that is where I believe our next generation should go. Women's stories are not niche stories, and we need to make it. African stories are not just local stories. And women's perspectives are not simply a transformational obligation. They are a global, competitive, intellectual property, and we need to embrace it from a medium perspective. And now what you see is the camera has become an algorithm. Something profound is happening. Now we must ask the key question: who is behind the algorithm? Because this then says, Bomam Lilian Goy fought for representation. They fought for women to enter newsrooms. They fought for women to become journalists, for women to become producers, for women to become and sit in directors' chairs, to enter executive suites and to enter boardrooms. We are there because of their hard work. Now there's another room we need to enter. That room is the algorithm room. Because increasingly, the algorithm is becoming another lens. Algorithm influences what content reaches us, what advertising finds us, what images are generated, which voices are amplified, what beauty looks like, what leadership looks like, and what success looks like. And when I did the stats, I got some shocking findings. And the finding is, when you look at the women behind algorithms, only 22% of AI professionals globally are women. So the algorithm globally is actively being shaped by 22% of women. What this tells us is there is still an imbalance, because from what we still see is still from a male's perspective. And the quick question is, what are we going to do about it? We are entering a future in which AI can influence billions of human beings and being understood around the world. And this stat should concern us, because technology learns from data, and data comes from history, and history contains bias, and history contains patriarchy. History contains racism, and history, once again, contains stereotypes. History contains generations in which people had to signify what power is and who had the right to publish, classify, record, and define the world. So, if we are to train to tomorrow's technology on yesterday's world, we could teach the future yesterday's prejudices. I'll say it again. If we train tomorrow's technology predominantly on yesterday's world, we could teach the future about yesterday's prejudices. So
it's important that women must learn AI, women must understand AI, women must use it. But we need the next generation of women, not to just prompt, but to also lead the direction of AI. We need to teach women how to participate in the economy that AI creates, teach women data, teach women coding, teach women about intellectual property, teach women about entrepreneurship, teach women about governance. We need to teach women how technological company works. We need to teach women how data sets are established. And then, if we do that, women are at a better position to be developers, researchers, policymakers, regulators, entrepreneurs, investors, and owners. So we need to ask a key question as women and as we engage in AI to say, what data train the machine? Whose history is contained in the data and whose perspective is missing? Who decides the algorithm that we consider to be normal? It's important to look at that. So as a GFC, the Gauteng Film Commission, one of the lessons that we've learned is that in South Africa, talent is not enough. One of the things we've learned is we need to take talent and reconnect it to various ecosystems. Talent to technology, technology to capital, capital to production, and production to distribution, and distribution to markets. Because if you are creative and you're sitting with a great product, it's no good when it's not going to the market. So last year we entered a partnership with the Chinese Cultural Center, and we placed about 20 students in content creation and commercialization. And I'm happy to indicate that from what we had invested in that program, we've got a number of students who now are able to access, from a content point of view, international markets. And this is what we would like to see as women. So as a young person who wants to create content, we need to start asking ourselves questions like, can this content travel? Can the content generate income? And can the content become intellectual property? Can a young African creative become globally competitive while operating simply from Tshwane? We are also now entering into another great partnership with the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, the Innovation Hub, the State Theatre, as well as the National Arts Council, and together with the TUT Creative Center. What we are looking at is a film incubation hub. And our perspective is very clear. We no longer want creatives or media people who come in the industry, but require government to be sustainable. So what we are doing is we are taking this incubation and we are taking access to expertise. We getting the young people to access mentors, to access technology, to access networks, to access capital distribution, and ultimately to also access the Lion's Den. So we are very glad that our partnership with the TUT as our curriculum content will be part of this remarkable story that we are looking at. As I come to a close, we need to start asking ourselves key questions in this room. And some of the key questions that we need to ask ourselves is, as we are revolutionizing, as we are talking about AI, who becomes behind the camera? But also, we need to ask key questions as women sitting here, and also as future leaders in our society, to say for many years, we've always said women must get a seat at the table. And women, I believe, have mastered that. This is why we have so many women leaders in this room today. But we need to start asking another fundamental question. When the woman enters this room, does she have influence? Does she control resources? Does she make decisions? Does she own the intellectual property? Does she allocate capital? Does she commission the production? Does she build the platform? Does she invest? Because these are key questions, because as women, we are fine getting a seat at the table, but now it's time for ownership, because we can only change our communities, our industries, when there is ownership, because ownership means that your voice is heard. Ownership means that you have decision-making power. So to the women in this room today, I want to say to you, to the young women, you're studying journalism, communication, film, marketing, technology, or media. Do not prepare yourself for the job that already exists today. Some of the most important jobs from AI are still to be generated. So it's important that you become very intentional. Learn about AI. Don't just leave it go ChatGPT. We've got Claude, we've got Manus. There's a very range. And be interested to developing your own AI that you can commercialize. Learn data. Learn intellectual property, because it's important to own your product. Understand distribution, because once you have a product, we want it out there in the world. Learn how platforms make money. Sit to say, how does Netflix, how does SABC make money? How does the online platform make money? Let's not outsource our thinking to technology, because at the end of the day, we need to understand that as much as AI is here, there is still an unequal system, and it is our role to recognize them. As I close, I want to say representation without economic participation is an incomplete transformation. I'll say it again. Representation without economic participation is incomplete transformation, because I've spent much of my journey entering rooms where previous generations of women fought to open. My generation has a responsibility to simply occupy those rooms. We must now redesign these rooms so that the generation that comes behind us, which is yourselves, become the next architecture of the media economy that is being built right now. So I would like you to leave you with the 4 questions. The first question is, who is writing the code? The second question is, whose history is training the algorithm? The third question is, whose perspective is missing as we are consuming AI? Whose perspective is missing? And lastly, what role will we play in rewriting it? Because we must be creators, we must be decision makers, we must be investors, and we must be owners. And we must be among those who are rewriting the algorithm. I'll end by what I started saying. AI may be new, but inequality is not. Perhaps this time we have the opportunity to code equality into the future from the beginning. Thank you so much, Papa.
Wasn't that amazing? She deserves another round of applause, a bigger one. Thank you so much to me for your insight, and as you continue to inspire us all the time, right, Prof? That's right. Thank you so much. Ms. Libaka is still here. Before we move on to the panel discussion, and we invite the panel to the front, we're just going to take 2-3 questions for Dumi before we move on to the next section. Any questions? Okay, there's one. Can we please have the roving mic? Please introduce yourself and the program that you are studying, faculty.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
One, two, one, two.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Manyelo Maputi Beauty, a master student from the Faculty of Humanities, Department of Applied Languages. I have a question, but first I'll start here since I'm a language student. Program director, I am attending this event for the second time this year, and last year I humbly have a language interpreter. And we are here again today. Do not see one. But when you organize going onwards, since we are talking about inclusivity and all, we will very much appreciate it as the institution if we were to include the sign language users as well. Now to Miss Lee Waka. I hope that's the surname. You spoke about the book Polygamist, the recognition of the polygamist, and how the directors in the what is it called? I cannot say movie. I forgot what is it? The series. Most of them or some of them are women. Now we go to how we women portray ourselves to the society, because Jonas was the main character there, and how he was playing women in the thingy, in the series. What do we say about ourselves now? What does that teach the young children? That is it okay to be a side chick? Is it okay to? So as much as we are talking about empowering ourselves, we also have to talk about how we are portraying ourselves. We do understand that it made it up there as the top series and all of that. So are we going to chase the economy, how the benefits of the economy, the economical benefits, rather than how we portray ourselves to the world, or how we are setting the bars for the young women who are coming up?
All right. No, that's fine. Thank you very much. It's a very important question as well. Yes. Let me take one more and then allow Ms. Lubaka to respond. Thank you so much for that. There's a question here. Yes, most definitely.
Should I? My name is Precious Feliti. I'm a second-year journalism student. My question is, I know journalism is a fast-paced environment. The newsrooms, we work on high pressure and also deadlines as well. So my question is, as a woman, we do want to balance our careers and also balance life as itself. So I wanted to find out, are the policies put in place for for pregnant women inside the workspaces? Because we do experience gender prejudices where you find women are told to take pregnancy tests before, or when you start showing, you must stop coming to work. I mean, these seminars are kind of a space for us to have candid conversations. Hence my question. Thanks.
I love the questions, by the way, because this really says to us that we are a generation of women who are not just happy to consume, but we are now looking into various elements that come out of what we are consuming. And I'm very happy about the first question. So from a film perspective, and when you look into writers, they narrate stories from what society is living. And the reason the story resonated with everyone is some of the storyline is what we still see on our social media. You open your TikTok, there is a viral story. You open various Twitter, there are various stories. And just to bring it to the youth, just this weekend, there is a story trending about Dr. Musa, how women must be loved. Just the other week, there was a story about Sitelo being married after having the 3 or 4 kids. And you can look at it from different perspectives. Perspective one is encouraging from a woman perspective, because for long we've been called, if you've had a child or if you've had negative experiences, you called as a failure, right? But it gives a new perspective. The Dr. Musa story this week is now saying women deserve to be loved, and women can be loved very well. And it's saying that men, it's okay. And the reason is it's a different perspective of stories. And the reason why women must write stories is because they need to shape how society views women. They need to tackle the realities that we are still seeing, being it side chicks, being it abuse, being it narcissistic relationships, being it emotional abuse. All these are important. And it is important that we get to say this from a woman's perspective, not from a male's voice. And that's the power we raise. And yes, as women, I'm not going to come here and say we are not going to look into what's commercially viable. When you go to Netflix, one of the things is they take your script and they say, is it commercially viable? Why? Because they are business. So I said earlier, we need to talk about the economics of representation. So when you write a story, you need to start thinking about, how am I going to commercialize this? If you go in behind the scenes or before that, you need to be able to start thinking about economics and the business of it. And for the longest time, as women, we have not been actively being involved in the economies. We are not owners of businesses. We are not owners of IP because we are shy, because the power belongs to men. And the earlier speaker said before me that men support each other. And it's about time as women that we start coaching, mentoring each other into the economies of business. Government is a business. It's a service business. They're running their own business. TUT is a business. So in every industry that you are going into, you need to start thinking about how are you going to go and commercialize. And we should not be shy about that. The last question was really about balancing our careers and policies against women. This is a topic that I'm personally passionate about because I am at the tail end right now of my PhD studies. And my research is developing a framework of women leaders in South Africa. And I've been interviewing leaders. And we've had policies in the country for 30 years. Yes, the needle has been shifted, but we're not where we need to be. Because if you still speak to women in law, they tell you that women are not given the biggest cases. If you look into the senior councils in the country, only 20 of them are women. I'm talking about the whole country here. If you go into the health industry, you still find doctors who are not getting high-level positions because when a woman goes to maternity leave, she's seen as if, the business is losing. But if the same male is going on paternity leave, it's not seen the same. So there's still a lot that we need to fight Because yes, we have policies, they need women leaders to be in the workplaces. As long as women are comfortable in low positions, as long as women are comfortable in managers, as long as women do not want to be CEOs, you will still find that prejudices. How do we change it? We change it when we have women taking leadership positions, women being CEOs, women being executives, women leading political parties, women being legislators. That is how you change the narrative. You don't change it by being afraid, by being shy. And we need to also take this opportunity to actually applaud the March and March, because it's the women in the forefront. So we need to say, as women, if we want to see change in policies, we must change. We must lead the change. And just coming to the issue of balance, you know, I talk about it in my book. There's nothing called balance in the world. And every professional will tell you it's all about juggling priorities in that particular season. So if you are a professional and you know you are studying at this particular time, possibly your key question that you need to ask yourself is, how am I going to prioritize? Am I going to get a nanny for my children? Am I going to get a tutor? How am I going to make my life work balance work for me? Because balance does not exist. Priorities in that season's work. With that, Papam, I won't go any further. I'm passionate about women's stuff, so.
Miss Libaka is still around, right? Okay. And you will engage with her, again. We still have that opportunity to do that. I would like now to introduce to you the panel. It's a panel discussion, right? Maybe before I do that, a big round of applause to Ms. Dumindibaka for her insights and how well she responded to those questions. Thank you so much. I saw a few hands up there. You still have an opportunity to ask the questions a bit later. In our midst, we have very powerful women in government, in media, in academia as well. And it's such an honor, really, for me to introduce them to you. They will introduce themselves further, but I'm so honored, and the Tshwane University of Technology is really, really grateful that you took your time to be here to share your insights about your respective industries. As I call your name, please come to the podium just here in front, have a seat, and we start engaging. Ladies and gentlemen, in the house we have Makanani Ngubeni, who's also an alumni of the Tshwane University of Technology. She's a council liaison and stakeholder relations from the city of Tshwane. You see, we are well represented, as a university. Keep them coming. A woman that I love and respect so much, a guru in the industry. We have Miss Mate Okaba. She's a business leader in communications and advertising specialist. A big round of applause for her, please. And in the house, ladies and gentlemen, we have a seasoned journalist and reporter from the SABC, Patricia Fasaki. Yay. I'm sure you're very familiar with the following speaker. Her name is Sholane Governor Bateman. Yay. She's the multimedia journalism lecturer, online editor, and researcher at the Tshwane University of Technology. And joining them is Professor Vanessa Naidu. She's also my supervisor. Professor of Marketing, Communications, and Leadership. So she's actually a supervisor for myself and Ms. Libaka. A big round of applause, please. Thank you so much. Maybe just for starters, Ms. Obaka, we're going to start with you. Oh, sorry, Okaba, where you introduce yourself just to share the work that you do, the background, what you've done well, and the panel discussion today.
Okay. Dumelang. I don't know if it's afternoon yet. Good evening, good morning, good everything. My name is Matea Mudimu. I won't say the surname as you can see it. My experience is I am an ex-CEO of the Association for Communication and Advertising. I was taking care of the advertising industry for the past 5 years, and then I decided to take a break, and I'm still on a break. And prior to that, I was at Old Mutual as the head of sponsorship and events. And prior to that, I was at the SABC for a good 11 years, where I was at SABC 2 and then ran SABC 3 for some time. And prior to that, I was in the advertising industry. But before I go on about myself, there's a question that was asked that I'm really burning to answer, and I'd like the MC just to give me 30 seconds to answer it. And it was based on the role of how the polygamists misrepresented how women are. If you look at the entertainment landscape and what we need to take into fact, polygamist was entertainment, all right? It's on the landscape of entertainment. What it reflects might not be true, might be true, but like Ms. Labaka said earlier, it was a lived experience because it was written by a woman and produced by women. And in my experience being on the entertainment landscape at the SABC and producing entertaining content, we push the envelope a little bit. We can push it to the extreme anyway, as long as it's entertaining, because commercially it also needs to make sense. It needs to make money. And as women, we need to start thinking business-like. And when you start thinking business-like, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, there's somewhere where we will push the envelope to the point where we are selling ourselves short. But it's not a reflection of you. It's the nature of the medium you're producing for. If you keep focus of the medium, the target audience, what the audience wants to see, and how you're going to make money, you will produce content that is relevant. So do not make it a reflection of, ooh, what does it show? All women are side chicks. No, it doesn't. Does it create entertaining content? This, yeah, TikTok. You see a lot of entertaining content. You're like, my God, what were they even thinking producing? But it has 2 million views. It has 11 million views because it was entertaining. The DNA of it was entertainment. So let's keep focus on that. When you're producing things as a commercial woman, as a woman who wants to be commercially minded, who wants to be business minded, understand how do you move the needle in terms of economically and in terms of from an audience perspective. So just think about that whenever you're producing something, that you're not producing in isolation of reflecting on you and your moral value, on your own values. It's about all other people who want to see it. Some people who don't even have values, and you can push the envelope so far that you are making big bank. So just remember that. Sorry, I needed to answer that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I loved what you said, my dearest colleague. So to those that don't know me, I'm Professor Vanessa Naidu. I come from the Swanee School for Business and Society. They call it is the Business School of TUT. To those that didn't know, it's called the Swanee School for Business and Society, the Business School. And I am here at TUT for the last 24 years. And the main reason that has kept me here is because of you beautiful, beautiful students I'm looking at. And you know, when you love your job and you love what you do, they say you do not have to work a day in your life. So no matter what comes my way, I always remember that. In my doctorate, I did something called the Leadership and Brand Alignment Model that talks, and it was done in corporate South Africa, where leaders stand up leaders, I said, in a model or a framework where your external brand must be perfectly aligned to your internal brand, that's your employees. So many times you walk into companies where you don't even feel an itch or even an inch of what they're saying outside. As an employee or a staff member, you feel totally misaligned. So that is it. So that is in a nutshell me, but I'm super proud to say over the years I've been at the business school for 18 years out of the 24, and I've seen CEOs walk through my hands. And being the only female academic there full-time, I have shaken up women to a level that you cannot believe it, especially MBA students. And I have a whole database of women that still keep in contact. And when Tumi spoke about a woman being not looking at her breasts or her hips or legs, it's looking at, most importantly, her intellect. And that's what we represent to you all today. That is the most important. And I'm proud to say, although I've completed number of masters and doctoral under my supervision, that I even forgot to even upgrade my CV sometimes. I have two beautiful women, and you've seen them, an intellectually beautiful woman, firstly, and that's Papama and Tumi, that will be on the stage very soon with their doctoral degree. And I am a master coach with the Global Institute of Organizational Coaching in the USA. Our head office is there. And I say the coaching has helped me so much to pull ladies especially out of the box. And these women were the most easiest students to ever supervise, because they know themselves, they know who they are, they know how to manage work-life balance because of, as Tumi mentioned it, of their priorities. So I'm challenging you all, because I'm dealing with beautiful women in front of me, to know your priorities no matter what. Right? I also sit as a consumer advisory panel of the ICASA board in South Africa, the ministerial appointed position. I was selected as the brand ambassador of the ISC2, that is the Cybersecurity Board of Gauteng. Tonight we have our women's event online, so I'm proud to say that. Also sit as chair of the AAA School of Advertising. And I still have to do loads of papers beside all of the lecturing. And AI is a nightmare for us academics. Y'all know that, especially when people just copy and paste, and we have to throw y'all out of the room because y'all don't know how to think intellectually correct. And it's a big issue. But here last week I did a presentation, and this is how I end, is I did a presentation on the arts faculty. As a life coach, Dr. Tessie and I do I do all the women, or most of the women leadership training at TUT. So it's just a pity my colleague Dr. Tessie Herbst is here. So I do a huge module on knowing yourself and getting to the best version of yourself. That is my baby. And I also do that when we do executive programs, and I completed one, a training with VUT, where I just shook them out of the box. But I did a presentation on detaching from drama. So this is very relevant because in life we have so much drama following us. And we forget what is the facts and what is the drama. And how can you separate that, especially you beautiful women, because that can be your Achilles heels that stands from you getting at your greatest. So I stop right now. It was introduction, but I said a mouthful because they call me a professor, so we dare to talk too much. Forgive me. Thank you so much.
Good morning, students. I'm glad to see you all here outside of the lecture context, online teaching context. I am Mrs. Governor Bateman, Shalane Governor Bateman. Some people call me ma'am, other people call me professor. I'm not a professor yet, but I aspire to that. And I am inspired to be on a panel with so many experts. We talk about shaking things up, shaking women up in the business world. So my job as an academic and your lecturer at TUT is to shake your education up so that the time and the money invested and the studies that you invest in is fruitful for when you go out into industry. So looking at the experts, all the advice that you're given, the guidance, my job is to take that and to put it practically into the curriculum that we cover as lecturers, as the Department of Journalism and Communication. I know I'm your lecturer, you know I love speaking, but let's look, oh, somebody laughed, I do love speaking. Let's look at my profile as a researcher. I started off in industry, mainstream news industry. I worked for the Star newspaper. When I was your age, I worked at Pretoria News. I spent time at GCIS as an editor, and then I moved into News 24. I had an amazingly fun job as a features editor for News 24 magazine. And then I had my kids, and I decided that I didn't want to run around late at night and cover stories. I wanted something a bit more flexible, a bit more stable, and I moved into academia. I was a reluctant academic at first because I loved the thrill, the adrenaline rush of being out on a story, running in my heels sometimes during a protest away from rubber bullets. I loved it. I loved staying out at night late and meeting the deadlines. But I also knew that I needed to transition into a different phase because, like we've discussed, it's a myth that women have it all. That is my opinion. But women should decide and prioritize what you want in your career and what you want in your life. And we have all types of responsibilities, regardless of if you have children, if you are married, if you have extended family that you take care of. So my research now, I have moved into a space where the passion that I have for lecturing, for teaching you skills, combined with technology and advancing technology, moves me into a space where I want to ensure that you are equipped with skills from the curriculum that we have and we implement so that you can enter the working world having those AI skills, knowing how to produce news when you enter the newsroom, knowing how to use different AI apps in order to communicate better with people. And there's so much more I can speak about, and we will speak about it. And I have you as a captive audience in class, so I'll definitely speak about it then. But basically, that's what my focus is, using the guidance and the advice and the expertise of people like my fellow panelists in order to implement it in our lecture room.
Good
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patricia Fasahi. I am a broadcasting journalist, television reporter, and also on the other platforms. I'm currently with the public broadcaster, the SABC, and I must say, I've walked in your journey or in your footsteps before. I come from TUT. I studied here. So yes, we are family, and thank you so much for having me here today. It's an honor, it's a privilege, and you know the nostalgia of being back here where it all started. And I must say, I have so many flashbacks. I'm just thinking about back then when I started. There was a campus radio station, Top Stereo, and that's where some of us managed to actually hone our skills in broadcasting and really understand you know, the platform, the landscape, the media landscape, the important message that we have to process and make sure that in an ethical but yet accountable manner, we inform and educate the public. It's many years later. I'm doing that work, and I must say that things have changed rapidly. The power of technology has become very challenging for newsrooms in particular. The fourth industrial revolution in the form of artificial intelligence, AI, that is shaping every day and influencing every day how journalists such as myself and the many out there, you know, have this great responsibility to tell the South African story that shapes our constitutional democracy every day, but also to make sure that we do that in an ethical manner that inspires accountability, in particular in a stage or in an era where there are so many challenges that societies, communities are facing with relations to, you know, governance-related challenges as well. That's where we journalists come in and we tell you the story, and it's not an easy one when we find ourselves at that intersection where artificial intelligence has sort of taken over, you know, and many could say that it's actually a threat, and you can see it as a threat, or you can perhaps embrace it as a game changer and use it to your benefit to tell the story that needs to be told. So I'm blessed to be here today, and I'm really looking forward to answering whichever questions that you may have. Thank you so much.
Good morning, students. My name is Makanani Ngobeni. I sat in that chair many moons ago. I'm a student of the university. Back in my time, just to give you some background, we had a student newspaper here called Taxi Student Newspaper. So we, myself and Patricia, we were part of that. So it's really a nostalgic moment to be here and to be brought back to the university. Currently, I am a councillor liaison and stakeholder relations with the city of Tshwane. I help shape the message, I help shape the communication from the institution to the councillors, to our leaders. So I'm providing a supporting role there for our councillors, in turn, the community, getting the message across in the work that we do as a institution. I have background also in program coordination and communication there with the other university on the other side of town in Hatfield. There I form part of the course coordination, which was for project management. So I have a background in that, in assisting that in implementing the work of in implementing projects and educating the community members in the work that is done there. And then I have a vast experience in event management and project management, especially in the engineering field as well. So yeah, so it's been years, and it's interesting now that coming back to this university and being able to apply the knowledge that I've gotten in the industry and being able to talk about it. The passion that I have is communication and getting the message across and seeing the understanding that people have when you communicate the message and empowering people with information. That is my passion, and also empowering the girl child. I always say to my friends, I'm I'm that girl who, when a girl comes up to me and just wants to talk, I'm always willing, and I'm always ready, and sometimes a bit too much. And so it's always, it's important for me. I take girls very seriously. I like engaging. I like communicating with women in this space. I like seeing girls believe in themselves and being confident and being able to go out there and face the world. It's a very it's you can get lost in it. You can get lost in it. You can get consumed, and you can get silenced and not be able to stand up for yourself. But I like empowering girls through communication, through talking, through instilling the confidence, through motivating and coaching girls. So yeah, that is my passion, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great. Are we all here? Are we still okay? Are we still okay? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. I needed to do that so that we are awake, right? There's great speakers that we've invited just for you so that you learn from them as you go to the industry. I know we have first year, second year, third year student, master's students over there. So get ready to ask questions, maybe for starters, to the rest of the panel. But let's give them a big round of applause. And this is a question to any panelist. What does coded for equality mean to you in practical terms for the media and communications industry today? Anyone can take that, and then it's going to be engaging. Please get ready with your questions. You get up, you ask, you introduce yourself, the program that you're studying, and then you shoot to the question. What does coded for equality mean to you?
Okay, obviously, from my introduction, you know that my context is the skills that you would have going into industry, and more specifically, media and journalism industry. So for me, coded for equality means that as young journalists and young communicators going into industry, firstly, we need to speak about on first year level introducing basic coding, even if you are a humanities student. So we're not looking for you to come in with an 80% in maths or science, but every single one of you going into industry, you will have multiple job opportunities to change your career path. But every single job you do would have to use coding to some extent because we are all making use of AI. When you go into a newsroom and you are telling your story, you are actually, as a journalist, telling the story of other people. And in order to use AI tools in our South African context, in our local context, you have to have the skills in order to produce data and input data into these tools that speak to the experiences of our communities and women, fellow women. So it's important in terms of that, very literally speaking, that you learn how to code so that when you go into newsrooms, even if you're a freelancer, you're able to tell the stories of women, other women, in order to promote equality.
Just in addition to that, I'd like to take a little bit of a sidebar on it, as in coded for equality. And I'd like to make reference to what Dumi was saying earlier on, is the algorithm change. How there's only 22% that are women who are writing the algorithm for the output. what is going to be critical for me, it's not just, can the lady next to you just sit up? You'll hear more. She's sleeping. Sorry. I see people who are sleeping because there's so many amazing panelists. You need to hear us. We're here passionately for you. just also with regards to the 22% of women being the algorithm shapers. We're not just asking you to be algorithm shapers. You need to put up your hand and say, I'm there. That's where we start as women, is saying, I am there. When you say I'm there, people then recognize you, see you, and pull you in. But if you don't say I'm there, we will constantly be left behind. Let's stop being left behind as women. Let's put up our hands and step up and be part of it. Influence it. Get your hands dirty. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Be passionate when you get in there. So for me, I think in shaping the media landscape, we need to just put up our hands and say, I am there, and you'll be counted.
Would you like to respond to that? And then we're going to take questions. As you ask questions, please say your name. Whoever is going to ask a question, maybe that should encourage you to ask a question. So we're giving away 15. So we want to hear those 15 questions.
Thank you. I wanted to add, coded for equality means that equality must be considered at the design stage, meaning as women, we need to be considered at the design stage of technology, not after the fact when we're then given this and said, this is what you can do with it. Part of the planning, you need to be a part of that. And I think as women, because I represent women in different communities and different backgrounds, it's important that through AI systems, we're able to get the message across to the woman for their understanding. For the woman that is young, 10-year-old, to the woman that is older in communities in the communities that we live in. So in my role, I work with counselors from different political parties and communities. When we develop communication, we have to consider different audiences and different languages as well. You guys know that here in Pretoria, we have your Xitsonga speaking people, we have your Xhosa speaking people. So it's important that AI should help us support and be able to have an inclusive rather than produce a generic message for understanding. So with that, Coded for Equality, I think it is including the woman in the room in the communication messages and making the messages clear for understanding for the women and the communities that we are communicating to. So yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add on that.
Okay, I see the hands are coming. Okay, can we have the roving mic? There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, my name is Ratavani Hazel, and I'm studying language practice. So my question rather is to the first speaker after your question, Ms. Papama. I just forgot her name. You spoke something about coding. Rather, it is important to know how to code. So my question to you is, are you saying it is now mandatory to know how to code, or rather it is of an advantage, making it a mandatory to know how to code? And if so, do you think coding should be put in every module of under humanities? Because mostly coding is under ICT. So are you saying must coding be put in modules of humanities, making it more as an advantage to us? Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that question. Yes, so as I said, my research is about um, uh, constructing or reframing the curriculum for university students, specifically humanities and journalism. And one of the ideas that have come through is that with ICT, you guys have all done ICT, right? Your introduction. So as part a unit of ICT for journalists, for example, with our department, we could have coding in there, and it's very basic. If you go online and you Google coding, how to code, you know that you're going to find basic tutorials on how to code. It's not a skill that's only in the realm of ICT students. So it's important for us to be able, as academics, as lecturers, as an institution, to encourage you to understand those basics. Remember, when you go and create a blog, for example, or you go onto a social media platform, or you want to create your own website, that is giving you a template that's based on coding. If you are able to understand the concept of coding and how to use it as communicators, as journalists, when you go into a newsroom, and if your newsroom is using a certain AI system that requires each and every journalist to input data or input their stories that speak to things like women in different communities there, and you have those skills, it will help. And yes, so I believe, and in time, I will put forward proposals that include coding in your basic ICT introduction courses.
I saw a few hands here. Okay, there's one hand there. Thank you, Kao.
Very good morning to everyone. My name is Lent Matibula. I'm from the journalism department doing my second year. I'll firstly like to explain, according to my understanding, the concept of coded for inequality. I'd like to look at it figuratively and say that it means us being trained in a way that we will be able to close the gaps in the industry. So coming to my question, I'd like to ask, as we are here today, we are full of hope, we are lively. What are the opportunities that you have brought to us that's saying that, okay, this is how you can equip yourself? Because we can speak all day about innovative ways of doing it, but what are the trainings and everything that we can apply for in order for us to be well equipped? Thank you.
That's a very good question. Who would like to take that?
I just want to say, I look at y'all, and throughout the years, we even look at every grad when they pass through us in the stage. And when I sit there with that pretty red gown, I think to myself, will this student get a job? That's always been on my mind. Definitely, if you'll have the hope that it's going to be so for you. One of my students did a doctorate on the concept of self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is knowing that you know and you know. Confidence is putting nice lipstick on and putting nice high heels and showing off. And generally, she did a very distinct study to say in an interview, sometimes we ourselves as women, we let ourselves down because we want to just say we need confidence. We need to know that we know that we know that we know. Most times, even in the workplace, men don't even know 1/10 that we know, but they have the confidence to show off. I'm not telling you to show off. I need you to know that you know that you know. You are not doing this degree because you're wasting your time. And when you walk on the stage, you need to know that you know. And if that is not meant for you, you don't fight it. I've learned it because God has other plans for you. We had that little prayer that came to us about women, right? And the prayer. I distinctly lay my foundations also on God. What is meant to be will be. But you've got to stand up. You've got to know. And the question I pose back to you, ma'am, what skills are you taking advantage of? And I'm talking the emotional intelligence skills that TUT is posing to you. We have huge workshops. What skills are you taking that you are taking advantage of to grow to your greatest? And sometimes when I hear even our students asking very intelligent questions, very deep questions, I think to myself, wow, we have got a generation at TUT that we call ourselves the previously or the People's University when it was called in the past. Yes, we may be the previously disadvantaged. I came from that. But does not mean you sit in there and feel sorry for yourself for the rest of your life. You've got to take it up and say, I am what I am, as the Bible says. Get that skills, equip yourself, and go into your greatness. And just having that and knowing who you are, you can see it across a mile way across the room when you interview people. Right? So I stop right there to say, take advantage of what is there and know fully who you are. Nobody's to determine who you are beside you.
I'd just like to add to that. We could give you 20 opportunities, multiple opportunities. How you show up is very important. If you do not show up confidently, and I like what Prof said, you know what you know. You know who you are. Don't feel entitled. And I think what we experience as the older generation, and I'm going to call myself older generation, even though I don't feel it, is that young people feel so entitled. They don't want to work. They want to work 8 to 2. What's 8 to 2? Do you know how much hours we had to put in to be where we are? And unfortunately, when you start in your career, you got to put in the work. And before you put in the work to be presented with the opportunity, show up confidently. Not confidently, but
self-efficacy, with self-efficacy.
Thank you. I'm not an academic. So for me, what Prof is saying is so to the point. And I've had a 30-odd year career. 30-year career. And every time in the jobs that I've been, I've always been promoted. Always been promoted. Because I showed up. If you don't show up, you are going to remain, bringing your scarf-tin every day, catching the taxi every day. That's how you're going to end up being. But you've just got to have balls of steel. Sorry. You got to have balls of steel. And be there. When they say you got to be here at 6:30, I used to work until 4 o'clock in the morning. I had a presentation at 8. But if you're not willing to do that, just sit at home. Sit at home. Don't have a career. Sit at home.
Maybe just in addition, Dr. Vati, you will agree with me. We also have the TUT AI Hub. Have you heard of that? We also have a programs, Microsoft partnership and digital skills. Do you know about that? Have you been there to find out what that is about and their offerings? Try to do that, right? You might not get the AI infused in your different programs, but there are hubs at the university where you can learn the skill, right? But we also have the phone. You have the phone. The power is here on your hands. Instead of going to TikTok at times, learn a new skill on AI, it's there. related to your industry. But the university is there also to empower you on those skills in our respective faculties. Am I correct, Doctor? That's right. Okay. No, that's fine. Another question? Okay, there's one there at the back. Okay.
Good day, everyone. My name is Monono Khotato. I'm a master's candidate in the Department of Journalism and Integrated Communication.
La la.
Okay, mine is as technology and AI integrate into our works, how can we best make sure that we use them as tools to actually strengthen our thinking instead of allowing them to replace our ability to think critically and creatively?
I like that. And the reason I like that is that we didn't go to school for nothing. We are not here attending communications classes, attending class for nothing. We still are the human behind the AI. What we have learned, we still need to prompt it to get answers. So when you say how we can use the tools, it's enhancing what we know. It's not taking away. It's not, it listens to us. We say, this is what I need, and it enhances what you know. So it's important for each one of us to know that we are not being replaced. We still matter, and there's a reason why we've gotten this far, and there's a reason why this industry matters. And then I also just want to touch on how the lady from the journalism department, how you were saying what is out there for us. I think it's important as students to know your environment. You know, I come across a lot of students who say, I don't even know the Minister of Communication. What are you doing? This is the environment that you're operating in. This is the environment that you wanting to be a leader in. You need to know those things. You need to know what is being discussed in those boardrooms in policy development. You need to know the agenda, what communication strategies, what communications policies are out there. So you need to empower yourself. It's not going to come to you. Your lecture's not going to come and feed it to you. It is up to you. You have this tool now. So go out there and empower yourself. Don't wait for information to come to you. Government is there doing stuff. Be part of the solution. Be the person who has a voice. Interact. There's different platforms where you can interact and make your voice heard. So it's important for you as students to be a part of that and to make your voice heard.
And I really just want to also add on that, and goes back to the first point. I think your question has really just opened up a gate of perhaps engagements and opinions. And that is, as a journalist over the years, right, we've done so many stories that touches the youth, that empowers the youth. We have had so many engagements with different industries, government, in terms of youth-centric policies and putting a youthful agenda at the forefront, because ultimately the work that we are doing needs to empower, you know, the next generation. They need to take over. It's just the course of humanity. I was young, I was a child one day at some point, and there were strong women, men and women before me. They paved the way for me to be here, to be where I am today. And there are still a lot of people who are much older than me, who have stronger positions, and they still shape my career, my decisions, and really the opportunities that are there for me. And I really think that as young people at university, that is the mentality that you have to adopt. If you're going to sit there and say, what do you have for me? You are disadvantaging yourself immediately, right? Because the opportunities are there. And one of the things that we have heard so many times, even back then when, you know, Dr. Blayton Zimande was the Minister of Higher Education, he used to put a lot of emphasis on this, that it seems like there's a dislink at times between the institutions of higher learning and the industries out there. Sometimes the courses that you guys are doing, they look beautiful on paper, but they do not prepare some of you for the, for the workplace. And that sometimes disadvantages many of you when you do want to get an internship, a job opportunity, right? You have this qualification, but when we put you to the test, you do not know what you are doing. But sometimes it's not even the skill, sometimes it's your attitude, right? In the workplace, it's your entitlement, and it creates so many blockages for you. And before you know it, you do not make it to the next level. You can't be absorbed, and you don't do that introspection in terms of what role did you play to close that door, to open the door that is there. So I just want to urge some of you is do your own research. Look in your respective industries, right, in terms of the policy direction of government, of industries, and sort of fine tune what you can perhaps bring to the fore that makes you stand out, that extra step that you take. We are in the era of AI. In your respective courses, whether it's communications, language, journalism, what is it that you can perhaps do extra that just puts you at the forefront of this emerging technology, that one day you can sit in that boardroom, in that interview, and you can say, I'm bringing this to the table, and this is the game changer that you need to actually improve your newsroom, improve whichever business that you are doing. I think that is your advantage. You need to start asking the question of what is it that you are bringing to the world, not what does the world have to offer you.
I'm going to add on to what my fellow panelists have said, but also respond to the both questions. I think when it comes to tangible skills that you need, using tools like AI, when you're going into a newsroom or you're going into a communication space, obviously you can use it in practical terms for things like transcriptions, translation, data analysis. You could do it use it for research as a starting point for story ideas. But ultimately, when we talk about critical thinking, we don't want a loss of critical thinking. And that's directly related to your personal ethical values and your personal respect for your own intellect. Okay? So you need to understand you believe in yourself. You know that you're a thinking person. You've been accepted into university to study and to learn. And when you go out into industry or whatever you decide to do with your future, you are going to respect that intellect. Use AI as a tool for those things like sub-editing your work. You can use Grammarly at the moment to edit an essay that you are submitting, but use your own skills and critical thinking for the final product.
Thank you so much. Is there one more question? Ms. Lebaka will be leaving us very soon. And that's a sadness there. But please do ask your question. Yeah. Wait for the roving mic.
Good day, everyone. My name is Nonkuleko Lukubu from the Department of Journalism and Integrated Communication. My question is, we know that AI learns from old news, which are mostly quoted by men. So how do we make AI to stop learning that men are the experts and women are the victims? Thank you.
Sorry, I'd like to take that. Okay. I'd like to take that because we addressed it earlier. We addressed it earlier in saying 22%. And Ms. Lebaka, I'm using her 22% as per Ms. Lebaka. Algorithm is
cultivated by women, 22% women. We need to grow that 22%. We cannot be complacent. And growing it, like I said earlier, is not about just saying, oh, let's grow it. We need you guys to step up and say, I'm here. I want to do it. I want to be behind the algorithm. Let's not let 22% of women be behind the algorithm. Look how many of you are here. How many of you are actually willing to step up and do that? So when we step up and do that, we redesign the output of that algorithm. And that's the most important at the foundation level, not the afterthought, foundation level. Then you start seeing different answers. When you do put in a prompt, you'll see a different result because it's got women inside. But right now, it's only got 22% women inside. So let's think about that.
They're saying that I'm neglecting the right. Okay. The lady, please.
Good afternoon to the House at large. My name is Michelle Munyamanyene, and I'm a second-year journalism student. In newsrooms, it may be often that AI is used for news gathering or synthesis. So my question is, what measures or protocols can be put to prevent the algorithm from erasing women's voices or marginalized perspectives from major headlines?
Look, I think I want to latch on to what the previous speakers talked about, and that is, again, representation. That's one. The other has to do with what you talked about in terms of the warm body, right? Because yes, AI, emerging technologies are powerful, and we should not even have the discussion anymore of whether, or rather the question whether AI belongs in a newsroom. It's there already. It is taking over. It is occupying spaces at the speed of light, right? So as I mentioned even earlier, that you can choose to see it as a threat, or you can welcome it, you can embrace it. So I think that algorithm is ultimately influence where the warm body, the human being that uses AI responsibly in an ethical manner, right, sort of directs the direction of AI. And that's how we influence the algorithm responsibly. It also goes back to the previous question in terms of how we put the female agenda at the forefront. It has to do with how we show up for that algorithm, what we put in there, the type of topics that we women on social media, on the internet, engage in. And every time when you do engage on any topic, or as a journalist doing your work, you need to ask yourself some fundamental ethical questions, right? What is the messaging that you want to put out there in society? And how do you want that messaging to influence and shape society? What's the type of society that we are looking for? As women, modern day women, we always talk about safe spaces. And if you do not have that psyche yet, that should be your everyday breathing power. You as a woman deserve to operate in a safe space. It doesn't matter in what capacity, we deserve to be in safe spaces, right? And you need to ask yourself, how do you create that through news using AI so that the algorithm sends the message of a safer conversation, a healthier conversation that ultimately portrays a positive image about women and gives us that equal representation that teaches the world the awareness of female power and how we equally contribute every day in the economy, the socio-economic developments that build nations. As women, often we do so much, but I think our contributions often are either ignored or we do not talk about how much we contribute. And I really think that we have the power to change what happens on the internet. Instead of women having negative discussions or pursuing negative news, we can influence how we show up on the internet.
Can I just give a basic scenario of the power of us as humans? There's an ad, a Pampers ad, right? No, not an ad, Pampers packaging, if you guys are observant. For the longest time, Pampers had packaging where for Black people, and I'm going to say Black people as a target consumer, on the packaging of the ad was a mother and a baby, and only a mother and a baby. On the white packaging, there was a mother, father, and a baby. So the interface of human beings, they think us Black women will always be single mothers and our men will abandon us, right? And that's the message that keeps on being pushed. It shows you the power of media and the power of visualization, that it influences certain community rhetorics, community conversations, and paints us in that brush. But when we now become conscious of that message, because all of us, when we had, I mean, my child is older now. When we were picking up nappies, we just picked them up until somebody said, why do pamper packages with Black people only have mother and baby and don't have mother, father, and baby? Then I started taking notice of that. And then the company had to also take notice of that. But I think the company knew already that's what they were doing. It's called subliminal messaging, which you all know. So for me, I think the human interface in AI is very, very critical. Otherwise, I once saw a newspaper article and it was doing its round. The journalist just copy and pasted the AI and it had dashes, it had all the AI prints on it. So I think from an ethical perspective, and my colleagues, my panelists have said, ethically, when you are writing, read, check, valid, verify, before you just go and post, because we'll see. And also another funny story that I saw, an Australian Prime Minister was written a speech. And on the speech at the end, you know, AI has you'd rather use this. And then he went and read, you'd rather use this. I was like, oh my, but Jesus, how does that happen? You know, but it shows you how we've become lazy as human beings. And AI is making us lazy. Let's stop being lazy, guys, because it's about your credibility. And you will be known as the AI queen if you do not actually read what you've copied and pasted.
I just want to go back, and I loved what you said, my dear panelists. Now, I sit, as I said, with the cybersecurity guys who are the top IT experts in the world, right? And what do I know about it? Zilch, but I've learned 80% of things I've never known about, and I've enjoyed it over the last year. So the way AI is done, a team of the top specialists in Microsoft sits together and they generate information. And these guys tell me, or tell all of us, when they're sitting in these board meetings throughout about 160 countries to feed information into AI, that it takes us 2 seconds to say, discuss the perfect concept of a woman, and it will give you. So who's doing this? It's mainly men. So men are feeding their stuff into this. Be careful. You have to read, as ma'am says, you have to filter, you have to look if this is the gospel truth. Be careful what AI is giving you. It's not, it's beautiful. I love it. But be careful what you filter down. Remember that.
Following up on what Prof said, we know that it's machine learning. We know that data is being input into the AI tools that you're using. And a lot of Western media publications have the resources. They have the millions and millions, billions sometimes, in order to create their own newsroom-based AI tools. And those tools are fed with information that's often biased. We know that every single industry that needs to build consumers, they manipulate the algorithm in some way or the other in order to increase their consumers. So when we're looking at South African newsrooms, obviously, if we're looking at the actual industry in terms of technology, we need to build up those investors in order to have models that we can then contextualize and localize for South African newsrooms. But on this level, realistically at the moment as student journalists, if every single one of you, even the communications students, language practice, if every single one of you went out and interviewed a female entrepreneur, a young female in STEM, a scientist who's done some excellent research, and you're putting that content out there onto your social media platforms, onto your blogs, you are sending it through for freelance publications with mainstream newspapers, with magazines. You are then creating content that can come up when people are searching AI for a young female scientist. You're not just going to come up with two, of the top well-known famous celebrity scientists. You're going to come up with many more results. So you need to actively be able to produce and manipulate that algorithm content as young people who want to see that change.
Okay, I'm going to take one question here and the last one up there. Shoot. You still have many more questions? Okay, all right. With that said, Ms. Lubaka, thank you so much. Can we say thank you to her?
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashruma Mazwi, and I am a second-year integrated communication student. So my question is for the women in leadership in media. What are the challenges you have faced, specifically because you're a woman, and how did those challenges shape you as the leader you are, and has it changed your leadership skills?
Sorry, can you just repeat the beginning of your question? I got distracted by the door. Sorry.
Okay. So, what are the challenges you have faced, leadership challenges that you have faced as a woman, and how did those experiences shape the leader you are today, and has it affected your leadership skills and the way you apply them?
I've got stories to tell. So I'm very strict. Okay, I'm that kind of leader because I push people to the optimum level because I know everybody can be brilliant. That's who I am, right? And for the longest time, I was apologizing for that, for driving people to be their best, all right? Then a reflection came to me, not even a reflection. One of the people a few people that I've managed, after I had managed them, they came back to me and said, you were the most amazing leader because you were transparent, you were hard on us, and you expected the best of us. And unfortunately, when I got into leadership, I didn't have a mentor. I learned it myself. I taught myself how to be a leader. All right. And thankfully, I had been a netball captain. I'd been a tennis captain. That's where my basic standards of leadership had come from. All right. But in who it's shaped me to be, I've also come to understand as a leader, one thing I need to recognize, and I'm going to use a word that I hate using, right? But I have to use it for context. That my subordinates do not see me as anybody else but the leader. They don't see me as a friend. They don't see me as friendly. They don't see me as anything. They see me as their leader. So in understanding that, I need to understand how I walk the journey and how I empathize with people who I am leading, all right? And empathy is a very, very big thing for me, because sometimes when you lack empathy, you destruct your team. You no longer have a team because people feel like you're not human. Whereas I go home, I cry, I feel pain. When my daughter tells me where to get off, I feel pain. When this happens, I feel pain. I am also human. So my principle was always the people you are leading, they are parents, they are leaders where they come from, they are fathers, they are mothers. In understanding that, I needed to respect that as a leader. And in respecting that, have empathy for that, right? To say, how do I bring them along with me without making them feel like children, without making them feel like they are being diminished, without making them feel like they're losing their... Because there are people in the corporate world who are happy for you to lose yourself and have mental conditions. I guess mental health, blah, blah, has become a big thing because of how insensitive as leaders we were before. We're like, I get on with it. Let's move on. Do you know what I'm saying? But without understanding that we're dealing with people. We are human before we are titles. That's the most important thing. For me, I am human before I'm a title. And as from one human to the next, how do I deal with you before I'm that title? And when you come into my office, I'm dealing with you from a human perspective, not from a CEO subordinate perspective, because then you lose the empathy and the sensitivity. And yes, some people take us for a ride where they have 26 leaves in 1 month. But you can see right through those kind of people if you have empathy. And if you sit there as a human being, you will understand who are the authentic people, who are the inauthentic people. Then you sift them out. The inauthentic ones, they will leave ultimately. The authentic ones will stay with you because you have got their best interest at heart. And it has shaped me from that perspective to say, remember, I'm a human before I'm the title. Okay.
I know you've got a lot of questions, right? But we need to end the program at 1. I'm going to take one question, take parting shots from the panelists, and then we move on to other segments of the program. There's been a hand there at the back for a long time.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Cynthia Ndaba. So my question is kind of like different. So like if I'm an events management student, but I'm also studying like coding, AI, and data analyst, can those skills open opportunities for me to work in journalism or media? And what additional skills would I need? Since like we are talking about this, and it's really nice and interesting.
Okay.
And like, can we also like as event students like collaborate with you journalism?
Yeah. Did you get the question? May you please just repeat the question? They didn't get it. Yeah, keep the mic closer.
I was saying, since like as we're sitting here, we're event management students.
Events management students.
Event management students. So like if we do like learn coding, AI and data analysis, is it possible for us like to get opportunities to work with like journalism, like get like some smaller opportunities or collaborate with you? And what skills will we need as event students to collaborate with you?
Yes.
Sorry that I'm answering it because I've been through what you're talking about. So when I studied at the AAA School of Advertising, which the prof is a chair of, but and I studied advertising per se, but then somehow my career, and I'm sorry I'm going to say this, and I know it's academia, but I'm going to just plug holes into what's going on sometimes. Is that sometimes you study something, you don't end up where you studied, all right? And that's my reality, is I morphed into marketing, morphed into events, morphed into PR. I've got all the skills that you're talking about. I've got events, I've got PR, I've got marketing, I've got all those skills. And sometimes what we learn on the job is more than what we learn here. And all the things that I learned on my job and in my job. I never had to go and take a PR what, but it's all about passion and showing up. In some corporates, they may pull you in and say, yo, there's no PR person. Is there somebody who can help with PR and writing pieces? And if you know how to write, then they give you the opportunity, all right? I was given the opportunity because I know how to write, right? But I also know how to put together an amazing event. I've done stadium events. I've done big productions, right? I've done big marketing campaigns. So the marketing, advertising, PR thing becomes kind of like you can morph into different areas. So don't think you are fixed into one block, because you are not fixed into one. There were publicity journalists on my channel when I started at SABC 2 who were reporting to me as a marketer. Then I learned how to write, read, edit, all of those things, because I put my hand up. I said I can do it, even not knowing that I can do it. I put my hand up. So don't be fixed on what you are studying, because there may be opportunities where you are going. They say, hey, can you do this little poster for us? And then you find that you can design. I can also design, where I'm sitting right now. So that's what I'm saying, that don't be so fixed. There are people who did science who end up in marketing. You're like, how did you do science and now you're in marketing? But it happens. And in the marketing, advertising, and event space, it's more easier to morph, because the skill, if you're passionate about something, you become self-taught. And self-teaching, it becomes critical when you are in the space. Like we were saying, Google courses, Google coding courses. You can Google offers lots of courses for free. Get in there, learn. And when you're in there and you've learned, it's easy to morph. It's easy to become a chameleon. It's very easy. So don't be so fixed on, I'm an events person. Can I get into? Don't worry. It's gonna get done. If you're passionate about it, it will get done.
Our panelist is still here. You will get an opportunity to engage. Parting short to the panelists, starting with Makanani.
For me is show up, as Madam said over there, raise your hand. It's important that as women, you raise your hand. Don't walk into rooms and keep quiet and hope that someone will ask you what your thoughts are. Walk in there, say your thought, and let your voice be heard. Thank you.
Amen. I come from that old school a thought process. You have to put in the hard work. This life is not easy, and you must always think that in the world there's probably 100,000 of you yourself, whatever it is that you want, whichever door that you knocking on, whichever interview that you're going for, there are probably 100,000 people looking for that very same job, that very same opportunity, right? So you need to put in the hard work. You need to go the extra mile. And sometimes it will feel like you are the stepchild of this world. But I promise you, hard work does pay off. And I had to walk that journey. I'm still walking that journey. This world is not just going to hand you things for free. You need to show up for yourself. And at times, it's really just hard work, nothing else. Hard work. Yeah.
Shelley? I'd like to conclude by reminding you the big question that a lot of people in different industries are asking, the old school people. They're asking, where does AI fit in? Is AI going to, replace us? Do I need to think of a totally different career path because I'm studying something that could be threatened by AI? That's not, that we cannot run away from AI. AI is there. So ensure that you use the opportunities available to develop your skills. And secondly, as journalists, media, students, people going into events, communications, always remember and maintain your values and your ethical standards. Whether we're using AI or you reading from a book, everybody knows what a book is, from a library. It didn't go down well. Okay. But whether you're using a book or speaking to someone, we don't plagiarize, we don't copy. Just stay true to yourself, stay true to your intellectual ability, respect yourself when you are producing content or doing anything using technology.
Thank you. I think I like to start with the whole concept of AI. So AI is here to stay. Make it your friend. However, AI will never ever replace real humans, relationships, and the beauty of relationships, especially within the media environment. And I conclude by one very important saying: be the best version of yourself that you possibly can be. You're getting this degree, you enhance it with skills, maybe even AI skills and whatever skills you need. And you do life, which I call the journey of life, to the best you possibly can be, being authentically you and the very best version of yourself. Thank you.
For me, be fearless. Fearless in everything. Fearless in making choices. Fearless in learning. Fearless in taking risks. But be authentic and be ethical. Never forget those things, because your credibility is important. Your integrity is important. And when you are not trusted in any environment, in any company, then that will always follow you. but be fearless. Be fearless. Don't be afraid. Fear is not going to do anything for you. It's going to do nothing for you. And if you hear you shy, I know there are people who are introverts. We can't all be the same. But in your introvertedness, be fearless. Go there, go to your destiny.
A big round of applause to our panelists. No. You can do better than that. To the panelists, thank you so much for availing yourself and, gracing us with your presence, with your insights, in the different industries that you are in. We really appreciate you here at the Tshwane University of Technology. Thank you. Earlier on, we had to do the opening. Our Deputy Vice Chancellor was in Garankuwa, and now she's here, and she stayed throughout honoring our event. I would like to invite her to the podium, Dr. Vatiswa Papu Zamkaka. She is the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation, and Engagement, a force to be reckoned with in Bogoto. Yes.
Sanbonan. Dumelang. Molweni bethuni. Absheni. Goeiemiddag. Is it? Okay. Good afternoon. Sure, my heart is full in your language. Yeah, I know my heart is full for you guys. Yeah. Sure. I'm really elated. Are you clocking it? But I never saw any of you zapping to show that you are clocking it. Sure. My goodness. It's nice to be alive at this time where our students are getting this rich information. I mean it when I say I'm happy for you. I'm really elated. Program director. Yesterday you were having your thesis defense, right? And today you are here doing this great work. Talking about working hard. Someone was saying about coming from the old school. Yeah, that's what you said. Our program director here. Are you a program director for today? Yeah. Sure. What you've put together is amazing. I sat there and I was like, why am I not seeing my AI professors in the room? It would have been nice so that the pockets of excellence that we are having in the institution, they are really feeding to one another. For the colleagues who may not know, we are the university that is moving from good to great. So you are in the right space. When I say we're moving from good to great, I mean it. This is an institution that has established an AI hub, that has established an institute for future of work. So we are so resolute. To the colleagues who are talking about the type of graduates we produce, within our strategy as a university, we have a goal to produce future-ready graduates. And we're so resolute about that. In the morning, we were launching a tax clinic in Garankuwa, in one of our campuses, because we are so resolute about seeing you not only knocking at the doors looking for jobs, but also creating jobs. Because it's not about only the one side where you knock and look for a job, but it's also about you creating those jobs. I need to have coffee. Honestly, this is my person. Same WhatsApp group. I was sitting here, I was like, yes, speaking my language. You need to be courageous. You need to be fearless. And you can't confine yourself to one space. Going to school is to train you to think. Then the rest is up to you. You can have a qualification in journalism, but you can do so much more than just in the space of journalism. I'm off script now, but one of the things that are in my script is about some years back, many years back, in my early 20s, talking about passion. You can do anything with passion. I had conceptualized and produced a TV show. And I'm not from your field, yeah? I'm a pure scientist, very proud scientist. But because I was passionate about it, I'm still am, passionate about it, and I just sat and I started to script. And I hosted that TV show. It's still playing then now and again at TUT-TV and Sony TV. I don't know when they decide to play it, but I hosted it in 2018, I think. 2018, 2019. And that shows that you can do anything. Universities are to train us to think. So you cannot be confined. The lady there who was talking about events management, hey, you can pivot, and you can do so much more than just the events management. So you are given the skills for you by this institution to ensure that you can be anything that you want to be. And I am so certain about that because of the way, in this institution, for the colleagues who might not know, we have, so many centers as an example, centers of research and innovation that are playing a pivotal role in ensuring that you have, for instance, the Center for Entrepreneurship Development, where you are given the entrepreneurial skills, because we're a university that is entrepreneuring the future. Where you are, they even, some programs, by the way, for those who do not know, Program Direct, some of our programs are already deploying both lecturers and business coaches in the classroom. And with the funding that we are getting from industry, we are training some of the businesses, not many, but some of the businesses in mainland. Those businesses were trained by our centers. The center where I'm coming from now, there is a technology station there for chemicals. By the way, even if you go to our bathrooms, the soaps that you're going to be using to wash your hands have been manufactured here. We don't go and buy soaps from Pick and Pay. So that's the type of a student that we produce. We have so many that are running businesses in Randburg Mall, in Limpopo, and so on and so forth. The entrepreneurial skills, the technical skills are obtained from here. So it's not all about what you are getting in the classroom, but it's you integrating what you get in the classroom with all the offerings that the university is having. As this institution, we're having a total of 8 centers, 4 institutes, 3 technical stations. We have 2 hubs, a hub for artificial intelligence, that I am so concerned that it was not in the room today. So next time you arrange something of this nature, please ensure that they are here, because they need to impart knowledge, and they also need to learn from the things that are being raised from here as well, so that we can be relevant in what we do. Over and above even the hub for AI, we've just been awarded a research chair on artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I'm talking about a 25 million rand investment over a period of 5 years. Renewable based on performance 3 times. So we're talking a total of 75 million rand investment by our government into this institution. So we are walking the talk. There is just no way in which you're going to be left behind if you are a TET student. So looking at the programs of this nature that have been organized for yourselves, we have experts, and I look at the titles, big titles that the colleagues are having, but they have sacrificed the whole morning and the afternoon to come and engage with you. That means something, and we are truly, truly grateful at the university. You can see I'm no longer on my script now. I didn't even start. But what am I saying? I'm saying our students that we are producing, we are the largest conduct university in the country, if you didn't know. Okay, the former students would know. We are the largest contact university. We have more than 65,000 students. At any autumn graduation, we graduate more than 15,000 students. So we're contributing a lot to the economy, but it's also about the quality that we are bringing to that economy. It cannot be then that we produce students or graduates that are going to sit at home with those certificates. We refuse, not in our time. We are called for such a time as this. And the programs that we've introduced in the university, they allow you then to be versatile. They allow you to really partake in a lot of things. I've mentioned just one hub of artificial intelligence. We also have a hub for cannabis. Yeah. Not for recreational use. Don't get some ideas. But I mean, I'm a scientist, so science is always in me. If for instance, one is struggling with eczema, you can get the products there. We have the products there for eczema. We have the products to grow hair. You can see I've got long hair. We do have oils. We are the only institution in this country out of the 26 publicly funded universities that is hosting a hub for cannabis with a state-of-the-art equipment. Yes, I led the purchase of that equipment. So you are in the right space, but just know what your university is having and make use of it. So I'm no longer going to welcome you because I'm sure you've already welcomed yourself by now. But really, it is a privilege to join this important panel, a discussion under the theme Coded for Equality, Women, AI, and the New Media Landscape. Dare I say, when we talk about equality and leaving behind equity, I become worried. I become worried because equality means you are giving equal opportunities to everyone, right? If it's a loaf of bread, it's a loaf of bread for everyone. But equity then speaks to exactly the needs that are tailor-made for that particular individual, based on what the person is struggling with. In one setting, I made an example of 3 people, different heights. One is a toddler, one is an adolescent or a teenager, or one is an adult. And all 3, they are trying to look over the wall, all of them. And all of them cannot see over the wall. But if you bring one crate, the one who's an adult is able to see, right? But the one who's a toddler is unable to see. You need to bring 3 crates or maybe 5 crates, you see? So the need for that particular individual is unique. So whilst we are talking about equality, we're not just talking about opening the door and say, let's all come in, right? But we need to move beyond equality and talk about equity. We've opened the door, but have we then addressed the needs of the individuals? Because we can as a country, and I think as a country we've done so well in terms of equality. We can say to ourselves, yeah, every door is open. But what about that marginalized student who did not have a laboratory in his or her high school? You said you've opened the doors for all of us, but am I able to compete fairly if then I didn't have the laboratory where I come from? So these are the things that as leaders of today we need to also look deeper into. It's all well and good that we open the doors, but once we open the doors, are we addressing the real issues that individuals are having? I'm saying this because I went to a primary school where we used to use cow dung to clean the classroom. So I'm speaking from experience. But the very same person who had a classroom that needed to be cleaned with a cow dung, because I was not only given the door. The door was not just open for me, but equity was also addressed. Today I'm standing in front of you being a graduate from London South Bank University. Before I was 30. That's why I did my PhD. Before that, I was in Sweden doing my master's. And none of these I had paid for. In fact, I've never paid for school fees since high school, from standard 6, grade 8. It was all on scholarships, talking about showing up, talking about being there when the opportunities arise. Because your marks will speak, eh? So we can't send you to these countries. You know, I'm a DVC that is also responsible for internationalization. So we can't send you to all these countries if then you're not showing up. You know, you need to show up in your academics as well. So I'm sharing all of this to say, as much as we are addressing the issues of equality, let's not leave behind equity. As a research and innovation leader who has also worked in science communication, including hosting a television program that I've shared with you, profiling South African scientists, I know the power of media to open doors or reinforce barriers. Today, artificial intelligence is rewriting that power. AI offers women in media real opportunities. You see, we didn't do that when you were asking questions. So AI offers women in media real opportunities, smarter tools for storytelling, research, and content creation, greater reach for independent voices, and the chance to free professionals for deeper, more human work. Yet, the same system risks encoding all biases, which were spoken about at length here today. I'm not going to, reinvent the wheel. Underrepresenting women as experts, amplifying stereotypes, and marginalizing diverse African narratives. If the people writing the code do not reflect the audiences they serve, this is what you're going to get. So we need you. I had 22%. You see, I was sitting here listening. I've taken my own notes. I learn everywhere. Did you get the percentage? Only 22%. So we have to do something. We really have to do something. It cannot be that only 22% of the females are really involved in this kind of very important work. I'm going to finish just now. So to be coded for equality means women must be architects of these systems, not only the consumers, not only the users of the systems. You've been empowered today that you can also self-teach yourself, you know. Some things do not require you to sit particularly in the classroom, but to use the classroom knowledge. You know, I always say, as a scientist, I can do anything. You can also say, as a journalist, I can do anything. You can also have that mentality. Indeed, we can do anything. It doesn't matter where you started and how you started. What matters the most is how you finish, meaning the product. To be coded for equality means women must be architects of the systems, colleagues, not only users. We need gender diverse teams building the tools, transparent algorithms, African data sets and language, and strong AI literacy for journalists and communicators. Equality will not arrive by accident. We need to be intentional. It must be designed. So as we're sitting in here, we need to be deliberate about ensuring that there is equality and equity for everyone. I'm not leaving behind equity. We need to ensure that there's both. You see, some are saying, I'm doing masters. Some are saying, I'm doing second year. So it means there is a first year student that you can assist. Make it your own. Don't always be a receiver. It's good to receive. Blessed is the hand that giveth, though. You know, it didn't say blessed is the hand that receives. That's what the verse says. Blessed is the hand that giveth. And always show up. You know, even in that second year, there will be maybe a course that you'll be so good at, so that you help others. You know, when I was doing my master's in Sweden, I used to have a class every Saturday for my fellow classmates who were struggling. You know, I'm an epidemiologist. So in epidemiology, it's all about numbers. So I love math. That's why I was on scholarships. So they were struggling with mathematics. So I made sure then that I give every Saturday at no cost to them, because I knew that there would be something that I may need also from them. So don't be that selfish student. Give to others so that they can also give to you. Let us ensure the new media landscape amplifies women's agency and reflect the full complexity of our lives. With those few words, I do want to thank you. And I want to emphasize and say, in my language, we say, kufa ayayo. No, it means you need to go with a jugular vein. You know, yeah, you're not scientists, so jugular vein is here. So if you cut someone here, chai, you know, so you need to go for the jugular vein. You need to give it your all. As Madame here repeatedly said to you, you need to give it your all. Kufayayo nto zakuthi. Amaqobokazana ke ngale ndlela ngabe kunyembelekile. Thank you so much.
A big round of applause to Dr. Vatiswa. Dr. Vatiswa Papu Zamkaka. Zamkaka, right? Yeah. Okay. No, thank you so much, Doc, for the motivation, but also for you being here. We appreciate it so much that you're honoring our event. With that said, I'd like to bring to the podium another leader, Mbogoto, who you are very familiar with, right? We're talking about none other than Dr. Maria Mushatoni. She is the HOD, Head of Department, the Journalism and Integrated Communications, for the closing remarks and vote of thanks. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I know that this item is between us and lunch. So I won't waste much time. I will even shorten my script because I know that my people are hungry. Right? Everything that has been said by our panelists, our Honorable GVC, I will make sure that I quote from Michelle Obama, and I'll quote. She said, "There is no limit to what we as women can accomplish." So I think this sums up everything that has been said. I will not be able to repeat whatever you have been mentioned. And I'm a person who's very much an introvert, but now look at me, I'm in leadership. So it is really possible. Right, and then to all the you see, this is an indication that I'm an introvert. But to our students, to our fellow students, I will encourage you to make sure that you see yourself not only as future employees, but also as future leaders, entrepreneurs, researchers, and media innovators. That's the very most important thing. And then to all our panelists, as well as students again, let us make sure that we leave here not simply inspired, but committed to action. To mentoring one another as women, it is very much important to mentor one another and make sure that we support each other. And it is also important to create another opportunities like what have been already been alluded to. I would like to thank our speakers, our panelists, industry partners, staff, students, organizers, and everyone who made today's event possible. May we continue to empower women, amplify women's voices, and create a media industry in which women do not merely participate, but lead, innovate, and shape the future. With those few words, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best and safe journey home, and make sure that you empower one another. Thank you so much.
got about, thank you so much, Doctor. Please, round of applause. I've got about 7 gifts that I need to give away. So I'm just going to do a quick raffle. And as we call your names, please come down just to get the gift. You know, we empower you with content. We brought the panelists and with gifts as well, right? You did put your names in here. Okay. Kamogelo Mashiko. Londega Buthelezi. Mahomoroke Kopano Paladi. Kiutsepile Faith Nakai. Makama Tiamo. Let's hand over the last 2. Cindy, so? And the last one is Lerato, but I'm sure there's many Leratos here. Lerato, and the student number is, oh my God, I can't see that, 2506495584. With that said, it's been a bliss, and you guys have been a great audience. So a round of applause to all of you, eh? So look out for this event next year, hosted by the GCIS in partnership with the Tshwane University of Technology. And you must come join us again next year, right? Whether you are employed or, you are giving, jobs to others, or you're out of the system, you must still come back here and tell us your story, right? Hala, hala, women in media, hala, hala. Hala, hala, women in media, hala, hala. Hala, hala, women in communications, hala, hala. Hala, hala, women in events management, hala, hala. Hala, hala, women in marketing, hala, hala. Thank you so much. You guys have been wonderful. See you next year. Once again, thank you.